Good morning, Makers Movement. It's 6 something in the morning right over here, Eastern Time, and I woke up to a delightful, super stoked about the conversation that I woke up to. So I don't want to even wait till I'm in my workshop or I'm posed up with a bunch of my work or any of that stuff. I want to just jump right on this. Oh my gosh, dude. This thread on glue is awesome. I don't have all of your names up in the thread, just the Drang Boards group. I believe it's Hopkins Ryan who is reporting live that he has just got roasted in a woodworkers forum over a frank discussion about glue. And then the following, the ensuing discussion has the idea is floating around that Franklin has a monopoly on glue, and then we're looking at markups, and you know that Franklin sells it for over 100% markup, and then you know that Home Depot sells it for another 100% markup, and you know that your Franklin Titebond 2 glue is definitely marked up 2 or more 100% from, and then people are saying, what about mixing our own glues? We've been over here, I almost started mixing my own glue this year, and I have made boards with really cheap glue in the past, and not boards for sale, but I made boards for my flow riders, and yes, there were differences in stiffness. The cheaper glues, the cheapest glue I've used was Elmer's. It was Elmer's, I want to say it was a wood glue. It was Elmer's wood glue. I almost want to say I used Elmer's white glue, but I can't remember which it was. I'm going to go ahead and say it was wood. This was like 6 years ago. I just had a little bit of stretch in my elastic, and I made some boards with Elmer's. I made some boards with Titebond 3, I made some boards with Titebond 2, and I made some boards with Titebond 1. I did this over a course of, I don't know, a few months. Just a few here and a few there. And this batch of boards were done as flow and experimental boards for my riders, and for a couple of friends whom I was teaching how to press boards. They have since gone on to make boards themselves, and I pressed them up some uncuts with these. All of these boards were, I want to talk specifically about the Elmer's boards and the Titebond 1 boards, because I did track these for me pretty closely. This is not going to be the kind of library science level tracking you get when you have money for R&D. I mean, it really does take money to do research and development. And I think all of us in the Makers Movement, we don't have 2 dimes to rub together most of the time for real, long, well done, well documented research. But my take on the cheap glue was that it made boards that were basically exactly what you were getting off the wall at the skate shop. They didn't make the epically stiff, gorgeous pop boards that my highfalutin glue makes. My highfalutin glue was the National Casein, PC 23 something like that. It's easy to find. I've got it somewhere, but that's the highfalutin glue that I love so much. The thing I love so much about that glue is it makes a stiff board. Titebond 2 also makes a stiff board. Titebond 3, not impressed. Not impressed. It's just from the get-go, Titebond 3 literally has the word waterproof on the packaging, which I just cannot stand when they reduce the meaning of an important word. It's not waterproof, it's water resistant. And that bothers me right off the bat. But then pouring out a gallon of Titebond 3 and having like a huge amount of wood flour left at the bottom of the container. Wood flour, as was well pointed out, is sawdust. Putting sawdust in glue as a bond enhancement is an idea. I'm not sure how you're going to charge, that much for a bottle of glue and have this much wood flour sitting in the bottom and think that we're going to think you're cool, though. That you have to cut open the container and scoop out all that wood flour that's ridiculous. I resent that. I didn't do it. I left the wood flour in the bottle and went on to make any glue that you can't pour out of a container without having to cut open the container and scoop out some ingredient. The Titebond 3, a 1/4 inch of wood flour in the bottom of it. I used it, and I didn't get a better board or a stiffer board. None of the Titebonds made as stiff a board as the National Casein. I love that stiffness. However, I've got some other glue samples from other glue companies that make as stiff a board. But Titebond 2 made just as good a board as Titebond 3. And the longer they stayed in the press and the longer they cured, the better they did. And the difference in stiffness between Titebond 2 and National Casein was so little. Both of those boards were better than anything you're going to get off the wall in a shop. That's obviously, there's hyperbole there and opinion. But definitely, I think Frank Porcelli proves that the strength of the Titebond 2 made boards is every bit the strength of the National Casein boards. Probably if I did more with Titebond 2, I would wind up feeling probably the same. But it's just glue. I have done white glue, and it has made good boards. Again, just as good as what you're getting from a skate shop. Maybe better, because my boys who rode for me back then, they abused these boards just like all the others. And yes, there was some difference in flex, some difference in deformation and relax in the boards, but just bomber decks that took a lot of abuse and performed extremely well. Like, they performed well enough that, if we were to chart them out, the place at which they begin to fail is already out beyond the industry standard. Can we just talk? Look, I know it's in Juice Magazine. I've never been able to hunt down the article because it's all behind a paywall, but I know that dear Paul Schmidt, whom I have a lot of affection, for whom I have a lot of affection. I just think he's a terrific guy. I think he's a nice guy. I think he's one of us down here doing the best we can with the decisions we're faced with. I know that Paul said publicly, repeatedly, that a board needs to last for 2 weeks. I know also that it's been said privately by major distro people that, quote, a board that lasts 3 weeks is stealing from the industry. This is the kind of thing, unquote, this is the kind of thing that people used to be able to say to skateboarders and be thought cool, because skateboarders for many years, for a solid 20 years, saw supporting the industry as a great, like, unifying virtue. This glue thing, man, right now I think all of us makers ought to be gunning for the cheapest glue that gets the best result that we need to go beyond a 5-week, 8-week board. My boards are lasting for months. I mean, there always will be some board that snaps. I don't like that, to the tune of I send a new board to the person. And it really does a great thing when I do that. But we need to be hunting down glue sources. But what came across in this thread today is this is nuclear. Yeah, we all ought to be looking into mixing PVAs and things like that. Now, one of the problems I have with mixing PVAs is I'm already pressing. I'm already cutting and shaping. I'm already building the screens, burning the screens. David is drawing all the art, and we also now want to build a glue mixing station and mix glue, like the spatial allocation in the workshop, all of that. It's a craft, and I value that craft, and I don't resent paying money so that craft doesn't have to also fall in my wheelhouse. I'm already working heavy layup, heavy finish, heavy in the screen printing, and then all the marketing and the representation, not only of my brand, but also of this, what I really believe is a movement to return production to the community. Do I want to mix up glue? Yes, that part of me that is still 17 years old or 20 years old and thinks, yeah, man, we'll just do it ourselves. Yes, but the part of me that's 46 years old and is waking up creaky and tired and is done at 4 in the afternoon and still need to go skate, and it's like I would love to do that. I stopped most recently. I start and then I stop, and I start and I stop, and I pick away at things over years. The last point at which I stopped, I was talking to a board manufacturer, and they said that they had a friend who was in architectural applications, a super scientist, and that their architectural super scientist mixed up an architectural adhesive for them, and that they tried to sell it, and it was really hard to sell, and they blamed a lot of their customers, and they blamed a lot of people, and it was very disappointing to listen to this cascade of just hating on people. And I was listening, and I thought, I don't want to hear about an architectural scientist using high science to mix up glue. Glue is much more simple than I had to have a high scientist to make this glue. That's gimmick talk. PVA is not that hard to mix, but I don't want formaldehyde in my shop, and I don't want ammonia in my shop. My shop is free from the most dangerous chemicals. In my shop are I got acrylic paint. I've got spray on, no xylene acrylic in my shop. Probably the most dangerous chemicals in my shop are my vape. I don't know, but I love you guys, and you all inspire me. If we could begin making glue as a group, if somebody dials this in, I would love it, and I would be so stoked to come and visit and talk with you and just get behind if we start making glue, because right now, what's glue running, guys? You get a gallon for maybe $15 if you're buying enough of them at the same time. My National Casein, I bought it 55 gallons at a time. And it was funny, my brand has grown, my work has grown, my volumes are up, and I have less money for glue. So my next glue purchases are going to be 5 and 1 gallon purchases along experimental lines. I'm only going to buy what I know is darn good glue, and then I'm going to work from there to building back up to the 55. But even buying 55 gallons at a time, which is like $800 or something like that, shipping and all that, you're still looking at $14 a gallon. It's not a huge savings. So these are some words about some things, and I want to end with what I started with. I am so stoked that we have an intellectually engaging group. I am stoked that you can get roasted in a woodworkers forum for having ideas and thoughts and thinking outside the box, very skateboarder, and then come to the Makers Movement, ask the same question. We might not be as knowledgeable as the woodworker forums. I don't even go there. I don't interact with woodworker forums at all. I have very, very tender enthusiasm. I'm very prone to discouragement. It is a weakness of my character that I'm not proud that I'm so easily discouraged. I don't know why. Ever since I was a child, my little heart gets crushed. But I really stay away from all the negative Nancys and anti-intellectual bullies that love to inhabit these specialty spaces, and they love to shit on each other. And one of my desires for the Makers Movement is for every one of us to really, really take care of each other. I am right now handling a situation in the UK. I've been involved in this for some months. A maker from the US has been defrauding customers in the UK for a long time, and it is of epic proportion and wide renown. So I'm finishing up the 5th of 5 decks going to the UK as a gift from the Makers Movement, on behalf of all of us in the movement. And along with saying that to them goes saying to you guys, keep your nose clean or you'll get booted. And be good to each other, and let's make glue one day. I'll catch you guys later.